Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2, and even though we've only played one match, this morning, when I turned on my computer, I noticed a cheeky little download on Steam for an update for this game, and yeah, it turns out they've been quite busy, the developers, so I'll just check it on screen very briefly. There is a lot of stuff here that has happened in the most recent update. Most of it is little fixes and some UI tweaks. The most interesting thing from our perspective, I think, is that your head coach and your analyst now talk to you when you're in the pick ban phase. So we'll get a sense of advice. We'll get some more advice and feedback as we go through the draft, which is nice. I've had a little look at it already. User interface needs some work, but it's nice that there's some advice there. So yeah. Things, as is the nature of early access games, things are always on the move behind the scenes. And in terms of our team, I thought I'd share with you my thoughts on training. So this is the training plan that I've set up. And the reason I've gone for a 70 to 25% split between training and rest is that I find this to be a pretty generally good baseline. But there might be some tweaking here or there, like maybe a slightly more rest or slightly more training. But for the most part, I tend to find this is fine. And the reason I like this is that if I was to look at our personal training plans, so currently nobody has a personal training plan, they're all just following the team plan. But you can see their stress levels are between low and normal, and stress will rise and fall based on, well, how much training they're doing. So you want to try and keep it in a normal range, because if it's low, then I assume you're not pushing your players hard enough. But if it's high, then you start getting a penalty to the efficiency of your training, which is obviously no good. So that's why I've left it here. You can tweak individual training plans, which may be worth doing for, at some point, a player like Uncle. So there's another element here on the HUD called streaming. And if I go to the tab for streaming, you can see that each player generates a little bit of revenue when they stream. Now, Uncle, if I go to the right page, you can see is our most popular player. And why wouldn't he be? He is the best character in the Jackie Chan adventure series. So Uncle's got a reasonable fandom. Uncle is also a veteran, and if we go back to the training screen, where is he? Where's Uncle? We can see... Can we? Anyway, he is declining. There you go. Here we can see he's already sort of declining in his actual abilities. So we're going to want to phase him out and phase our youth candidate crit hero into the starting lineup. And that's possibly where we can take advantage of creating, in the future, a personalized training plan for Uncle. Put him on some streaming, maybe make a little bit of cash money, which our team could desperately use because we are dirt poor. So that's kind of a little behind the scenes look at what I'm thinking of doing with the team and their training. But I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it, so we're just going to skip ahead to the next match because I think that's where, you know, the stuff's going to start moving across the screen. It won't just be a spreadsheet. All right, we're back. Let's get to it. Let's get to the task. This is the Runic Rovers that we're up against. They won their first game. Key player is Rinder. Team tends to prefer dual blade gambler fighter. Runic Rovers tend to focus on the bottom side during the laning phase. So I feel like that's quite similar to what I do generally. Rinder is somewhere on here. There he is. Or she. It's he, I think. Jungler, reasonable stats. Nothing crazy though. Nothing crazy, so I feel like we should be competitive with this team on paper, but that remains to be seen. Let's get to the draft. All right, squad settling in. We are on the red side, so we get second pick, and you can see here cavalry is worth moving up as a ban candidate for now, so we will take that under consideration. I am gonna try and leave on the screen permanently the advice from our staff, but for now we'll follow their advice. We'll ban cavalry, they ban gunner. What is going on? You can see what I mean, like the UI could possibly, because this fades and then I don't read it in time, so you can pop it up on the screen. but I feel like it could use a little bit of work. They're saying Dual Blade is worth moving up as a ban candidate. Sounds good to me. We'll do that. Android's been banned. The opponents use Fighter and Gambler often. Well, we also used Fighter, but we could ban Gambler maybe. Go ahead and ban Gambler. And we'll see what the opposition do. So they are picking Poison Dart Hunter first. What are we saying? They expect that Poison Dart Hunter will be played mid, which makes sense. They're a ranged character. Unfortunately, we're under a little bit of time pressure here. So what do we want to do? And I'm thinking we will... Oh! I didn't pick in time and it gave me Priest. I was going to pick the Sniper, but we've got Priest. So on the basis that we have Priest and they're a healer, maybe we want to go for more of an engaged composition here. I think that might be for the best. So I'm going to pick Fighter because they've got stuns and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, they get Swordsman, which me might have wanted, and they've also got Pyromancer, which is another one we might have wanted. Whipmaster worked well for us last time. I'm kind of ignoring what my analysts are saying now, because things are going by too quick for my brain to handle. I think I'm going to go Whipmaster. And what else was useful for kind of jumping on top of the enemy? We would like probably an engaged top laner, so Lancer I think is a good pick here. Oh, that sucks. They've gone Shield Bearer, so enemy draft looking pretty good, but I think we've got to commit. Got to commit to what we are doing here. So I am tempted to go with possibly the Ghost. I am a little bit worried about this draft. Not gonna lie. The the Priest panic pick kind of throwing me off, but we'll go with this. We'll go with this. So we've got Lancer, who is they want to jump on people. They've got some quick moves. They're in the top lane. Fighter we've seen before. Whipmaster we've seen before. The Priest is a healer who can put patches of healing on the floor. That could counteract the patches of poison that the opposition is going to have. And then there's the Ghost, who's going to go around like Pac-Man. They are a scaling champion, so if we can get kills on Ghost, that's gonna help us out. On this occasion, with our strategy, we'll go hard engage. I think we can split push with our top laner if we get the more guard buff, which just means what formation do we want? Do we want a group of 5? Do we want to have 4 in a group and 1 separate, or do we want to go 1-3-1? I'm actually tempted to go 1-3-1 because we do have 2 kind of brawling champions that might be able to survive things on their own if they're caught out. So let's try a 1-3-1. Yeah, otherwise we'll show a degree of flexibility elsewhere. I think ganking-wise, I think we want to try and make sure we get ahead in the bottom lane as quickly as we can. And in terms of our damage folios, I'm not entirely sure because we kind of want to mix. I'm going to say I want you all to start with attack damage, and our jungler I want to focus more on attack damage, I think. But we may want... I think they're all attack based, so we'll go defensive items second on these guys. With the Ghost, I'm going to go attack speed into attack damage just to make them faster. And we'll see how that works. No idea what the Priest should do, so I'm just going to let the player figure it out, and we'll get into the match. Slowing this down just a touch. But yeah, I don't know about this one. I think our draft is maybe not quite as good as theirs. At least the enemy team have a pretty solid draft with the Shield Bearer. So we get a little early scuffle in the jungle, but nothing comes of it. So you can see Ghost is gonna ideally be weaving in and out of combat. But he likes to dive in and die, apparently. That's what I was worried about. We don't have much poke, and therefore we don't have much range, so we're possibly quite vulnerable early. But we'll see. It's obviously a very, very early stages in the game. That was bad. I think we might be in a bit more trouble in this game. Bad coaching, by the looks of it. Oh well. Small deficit to start with. Things that ultimately in this game I think will often continge upon how do teams do in the kind of bigger team fight settings. It looks like we're gonna... Well, I was gonna say looks like we're gonna give this objective. The late sort of re-engagement kind of working, but the enemy have numbers advantage, so this is looking sketchy. Yep, double kill on the poison dart hunter there means... And we didn't even get a kill ourselves. We do take the top lane turret, so maybe a split pushing strategy could help us. We'll trust Uncle. Obviously, probably chanting "You know Gwe Gwe Vaidi Sal," "You know Gwe Gwe Vaidi Sal," and I think we're going to have to channel a lot of those vibes from the Jackie Chan Adventure series if we're going to make it out of this one, because things elsewhere are not looking very good. We got Snow in the bottom lane, and apparently they know nothing of self-preservation because they are losing all their health jumping in once again, even though they are significantly behind at the moment. But look, it's all still to play for. It's all still to play for. As kind of a disappointing ultimate there from the Whipmaster. We're going to have a set up around the tree. Shieldbearer holding the line, doing some work. Maybe we've got an opportunity to heal up and re-engage later on. But no, the enemy team are looking like a well-oiled machine, and we're looking like a well-buggered team at the moment. As here's the engage, and it all goes wrong. It all goes wrong. I think this game is going to be over quite quickly, but that's all right. That's all right. We've got another set, and I do think that the shield bearer is secretly OP. And maybe it's not worth drafting kind of engage compositions unless we ban it. We get a little bit of stuff done here. This is a bit sketchy, mate. Snow, run away. You know nothing of danger. Uncle trying his best to hold the line, but he is currently surrounded by incompetence. And our priest there, on script, dying. We might get a pick here, though. It's nice. But I think it's probably too little too late. We've got a, what, 4,000 gold deficit? It's not necessarily insurmountable as long as we don't lose too much more of our base. But yeah, I do think the shield bearer is secretly OP, because all they have to do is stand there. So there's kind of like not much in the way of skill shots or mechanical execution that whoever uses that character has to worry about, right? And because our players are so bad, that might be a difference maker. Although we're making some plays here. We're getting the odd pick, but it doesn't feel like it's anything that's going to kind of bust the game open. I think that might also be a taunt, potentially. That might be why there was a little exclamation mark above our ghost's head, and they started going into danger rather than continuing to path away from it. You'll notice that sometimes in the bottom left of the screen, the players say things. I mean, it's all text, obviously, but this is the call stat and other attributes of players come into play. And it's, I suppose, meant to tell the player what their team are thinking, because sometimes it's very difficult to understand, why is my player doing a certain action? That fight didn't go very well for us. It's difficult, like I say, to see a win condition here. especially as they barrel into our base with a huge minion wave. And I think that's going to be game. Yep. Fair enough. We take that one on the chin as manager here. That was our fault. But the next one's going to be on the players, I swear. Doesn't look like anyone had a particularly great performance. Our mid laner didn't do too badly, but their entire team just had a much better, much well-rounded performance compared to us. We'll take blue side this time, and we'll give it another shot with the ban pick phase. Cavalry is worth a ban. I'm not sure. What do we want? I think we've had success with range, with pokiness. I'd like to build probably a team comp around the sniper. In which case, banning cavalry maybe does make some sense. I'll go with it. They're suggesting Dual Blader as a ban, Gambler as a ban. I'm going to leave Dual Blader on the table and we'll get rid of Gambler instead. A banned Bomber. And as I said in the previous episode, I do generally approve of banning bombs. I think that's a generally good... just a good position for us as a business, you know, to take. A good stance. Say no to bombs. We're going to say no to vampires as well. No particular reason on that one. They banned the Executioner. That might have been a support worth picking because we did have success for it. Yeah, it's better to secure the Inquisitor early or the mid lane is what our staff are suggesting. But I'm going to overrule that. We're going to go Sniper and see if we can't poke them down. They've gone Wind Mage, and Wind Mage has a lot of kind of area of effect anti-engage stuff going on. So I think that just means we now commit fully to a more ranged composition with some frontline support perhaps. So with that in mind, I think we go with the same jungler that we had success with before in this kind of a composition, with Hammer in the top lane, and that gives us a pretty nice tanky front line for any team fights. They're still interested in us picking the Inquisitor, and they're saying I expect Shadowmancer in the top lane from our opposition. We did have success with the Dancer previously, so that is where we're going to look here, I think, for our bottom lane. We've got a Sniper in the middle lane, we've got Hammer in the top lane, we've got a Jungler sorted, so now we're just looking for a support. And we did have some success again. This is another range character, Pythoness. They're a mix of healing and a little bit of magic damage. And I think that's what we'll go with. Okay. So I'm feeling a little bit better about our setup here. What is our analyst saying? Let me pull it back up on screen. Oh. You can also, by the way, look during the draft at the statistics, and this is just all the win rates across every league that's been loaded into the game of how the players are doing. So Hammer seems like a pretty good pick just based on win rate. So we'll see how that goes for us. No, what I was looking for was what were our analysts saying. They were saying at this stage the most likely opponent setup will be Shadowmancer top. Yeah, they'll set up however they set up. I have an expectation about what they'll do, but we'll see. They are recommending the exact composition that I've gone for based on the draft I've had. And this time we will go... I think we'll go fully group up strategy, I think. We will focus that bottom lane again, though, because Dancer is a scaling champion. And enemy team, they've got kind of a mixed damage portfolio. I'm not sure if it's best to go for some sort of attack item first on the top laner, even though we want them to overall be durable. So I'm just going to leave it to them. I'm just going to leave it to the players. Uncle will figure it out. Uncle knows best. You know what I mean? He's always always bailing out Jackie Chan and the squad. Or at least he was in the 2000s. Alright, hopefully things will go a little bit better here. It's a bit weird to see what the opposition have done. They've gone quite unorthodox because they have put, as their support, that character that just teleported forward, the Hunter, and they're an Assassin. So I don't think they're going to provide any utility, whereas the Monk, who is a support, is in the jungle. Which doesn't mean it can't work, but it feels suboptimal, as we are going to escape with our lives there just. In actual League of Legends, for example, you do sometimes find support picks that have very little utility. There's a character called Elise in League of Legends, and that's a pick that is reasonably often seen in professional play. She does have a stun, but she's mostly all about assassinating and damage. So it can happen, but it's unusual because normally you're going to want some form of utility for your team in that role, which is what we have and what our opposition don't have. So we'll see if it works out for us. Gold at the beginning seems pretty even. Every lane is pretty even, although our bot lane is a little bit behind and our jungle is a little bit ahead. We poke out the support there, but we are at a numbers disadvantage as the enemy top laner joins this fight. We should just back off. And we escape with just the one casualty and no objective taken yet, so I guess ultimately not so bad, although the enemy are gonna probably take it here. Because they're bringing their whole team down to take this early Serpent, which I'm okay with, as long as, well, I mean, us getting a kill there, that's pretty gravy. But like early Serpent, it's only a small boost. It's a 3% boost, right? But early game, because your characters haven't bought many items, right? So if I mouse over an item, you know, it's giving them plus 300 HP, this item, for example. But those numbers are relatively small, so you're getting 3% of a relatively small number. So the early Serpent doesn't mean anything. It does start mattering later on, but right now it doesn't mean too much. I mean, ultimately it matters more when things stack. Once you're at like a 10% kind of benefit, then it matters. But things are not looking so great in the top lane. We got solo killed. Mid lanes are not going... I mean, we're sort of falling behind everywhere except jungle right now. So we need a good team fight here. And it looks like we could get one. We poke the enemy team out. That might be enough for us to secure the tree. Enemy looking to re-engage. Big ultimate from the Shadowmancer. Not enough to kill us. Sniper goes down. Pythoness goes down. We do take their support, but it's a 2-for-1 in the enemy's favor. So, not the best. Things looking a bit dicey for Team Redshirts right now. It's their turn to set up on the tree. And sometimes you've got to think to yourself, what does it feel like to be that tree in this universe? Knowing that you're going to come back just to get your ass whooped. I don't know. That skirmish, a mixed bag. I think overall enemy favored though, once again. But keeping them entertained. I mean, we had more casualties, but we have since respawned and come back at full health. So maybe there's a window for us to punish here. We get the monk down, which is the enemy jungler. And an interesting thing to note is that junglers do have, as they do in League of Legends, they effectively have a smite skill, which means that you can do big execution damage to... Oh my goodness, that Shadowmancer ultimate just obliterated our team. Yeah, so junglers, they get a bonus instant execution last hit type deal to objectives. So, we had an advantage for a little while when their jungler was dead and ours wasn't, but it didn't pay off for us. Our jungler going in for a steal doesn't work. But we are going to trade an objective potentially on the other side of the map. Or are we? No, we're just going to trade our lives for no good reason. This looks more like the sort of Redshirts performance I was expecting when we started the save. Based on the quality of our team. I do think our players have been particularly poor in this game. The first one was on me. I think our draft this time isn't too bad. But of course the problem is with the Dancer is if they don't get kills, then they're missing out on a lot of the champion's kit. Because each time they get a kill, it increases the number of chakarams that they can throw around. So the fact that we haven't got a kill yet is really hurting that champion. Meanwhile, the enemy, I don't think they have any, like, scaling champions. They're just an all-round good team. Do get a kill there. But it's not so much death by 1,000 cuts. It just feels like death at the moment. Just a sort of long, drawn-out death. What I'm thinking of doing in the next episode, by the way, we had a little look at our training setup. Maybe we will have a look at what some of the attributes of our players actually do. Because it's the only thing I think is a shame at the moment in the current build of the game, and this could change over time, is players... Look, I have an affinity with Uncle because I remember them disobeying my command in the first game and it working out for our team. But generally speaking, it's... players don't feel very unique or special. But maybe looking at the stats might help us understand our team just a little bit better in the next episode. For now, though, this is looking pretty bad. Enemy team got the tree once again. We got the serpent. But we need a heroic last stand. Otherwise, it's all going to end here. We are being pushed back into our base where we can heal, but there's such a big minion wave. I feel like the enemy team could have just ended there, but they've let us get away with it. A very odd decision from the enemy team. Perhaps they are coached by killer whales, which of course are creatures known for playing with their food. And not even eating it. Because I don't think we even got eaten there. We just were mercilessly killed for funsies over and over again by Runic Rovers. We're going to get them back next time, hopefully. But that game was... It was fairly close, fairly competitive. Looking at the goal difference, we just had... We never really had a good team fight, which is a shame because I was hoping that we had a nice bit of front line with some CC and some AoE effects on our top lane and our jungle. And then a lot of ranged poke with a little bit of healing. I was hoping this might be enough to see us through to a win, but it wasn't. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. We fall to 1-1. Again, let me know if the pacing of this episode was good or bad, or just anything. If you have any questions about the game, let me know. I'll be back with another episode where we'll look through some of our player attributes and maybe our roster in just a little bit more detail. But until then, I'll catch you next time.